Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here and to share with you everything that I was able to learn and throughout my internship. So to start, sorry. Okay, to start, I'll just talk a little bit about who Greenhammer is. So they are a design build architecture firm located in Portland, Oregon, and they are committed to the AIA 2030 commitment towards 70% or greater predicted energy use intensity savings across their building portfolio. So one way to do this is through energy modeling, which is a process that Greenhammer started last year through the same internship with their intern, Michelle. So Michelle was kind of tasked with trying to figure out what energy modeling software would be best for Greenhammer and would best suit their needs in trying to connect to the AIA 2030 commitment. And so she kind of figured out that Woofy Passive was the best solution for them. So that's kind of where I came in, and my goal was to expand upon what Michelle was able to accomplish and try and integrate Woofy Passive into the workflow a little bit more. And by doing that, I would simplify the process, make it a little bit more easy to use and user-friendly, and then share everything that I was able to create and accomplish with the team and hopefully encourage the use of everything in the end. So Woofy Passive can be pretty complex, so I kind of broke it down in these steps. So you first start with your project, and Woofy kind of allows any type of building, so a new construction, a retrofit, a mixed project. You can just input that in, and you first start in SketchUp, so you build the thermal envelope. I have a couple of examples later on, but it can look kind of funky. So you take the outside of the insulation and you wrap the building and you create that model in SketchUp, move it into Woofy Passive, plug in all the information, and it really takes every single little aspect of the building into account, from ventilation to window type, to the location of the building. And then from there, it outputs these nice results from different charts and data that you can kind of analyze and figure out where your weaknesses and your strengths are in the building and kind of where your improvements can be made. So I kind of started in that plug it in phase, and before I could start the whole process, I started by creating different libraries of databases. So the first one is for the walls, floors, and roofs, and I created all these different types. So hopefully trying to create something where when somebody comes in later on, they can quickly come in, click their wall type that they need, their floor type, different, and then keep going, and it won't stump them. They won't have to plug in all of the different elements of the wall or the floor or the roof or whatever they're needing. They can just quickly come in, select their item, and keep going, and it makes it a little bit smoother of a process. So the next library I made was for windows, and windows can be pretty extensive. There's a ton of different manufacturers, and every manufacturer has a different materials they use, different window SHGCs, different kind of operations. So I tried to create a pretty extensive list that kind of included all of that. So the first one I want to kind of talk about today is the difference between fixed and operable windows. So I tried to include all types in my library so that it can make a very accurate result when you're kind of coming towards the end of your Woofy Passive results. So for this one, for the fixed, this is the same window, but there's two different R values based on the fixed versus the operable. So as you can see, I plugged it into a model building, and although there's not a huge difference here, so the EUI of the fixed windows, if I selected all the windows and made them fixed, the EUI was up to a 13.9, but when they were changed to operable, it changed to a 13.76. And although that's not a huge difference, the heat loss is a 40% when they're all fixed, and the heat loss is a 42% when they're all operable. So even just those small changes can make a difference on the total EUI, which could affect the building. And especially if there are little changes all over the place, then the windows are something that can be kind of created so that it is the most accurate outcome in the end. The next one that I focused on was making sure I did different windows for double pane versus triple pane. So here you can see I chose very similar windows. They're both Zola and UVPC windows. The top one is a double pane, so the fixed value is an R4, and the operable value for this one is an R3.8. And then the triple pane is an R7, and the operable is an R6. And I did the same thing, plugged it into that model building, and the results were pretty intense here. So for the double pane, the heat loss was a 54% for the windows and doors when they were all changed to double pane. And when they were changed to triple pane, it went down to a 42%. So again, making sure it's as accurate as possible. I tried to create as many options in the library so that Greenhammer can come in and select the most accurate representation of the windows that they are coming across or inputting so that the results are as accurate as possible. The next one I focused on was different materials. So here I chose very similar windows in R value, but the material they use are different for the outside. And for the wood, the EUI came to a 14.76, and for the vinyl window, they were all, the EUI came to a 13.54. So again, not a huge change there, but it could make a big difference on your project based on kind of where you're coming through towards the end. So making sure that the window is as accurate as possible. Following all of those kind of pre-made libraries, I went in and created the project from start to finish. So I did 2 of these, and this is a retrofit project that was done after the remodel. So this lower section is the original home, and then this 2-story section here is the addition. And I went through that whole Woofy process, and it output this original data results, which had the site energy at a 54.19. And the good thing about Woofy is it really allows you to kind of look at those results and revise from where it is right now. So I went back in and changed all of the windows from the original windows, which I think were a double pane, up to a triple pane, and just tried to see what that would affect. And I did the same kind of process for walls, roof, and then so on. So kind of making all these different options for what could come. And for this one, if the owners of the home were to come back and say they wanted to make a small change to the project again, they could come and see that through this process, you can see that the windows would make the biggest difference from a 54.19, which they are at now, to a 40.44. For the next project, so this one is really cool. It is a project that is it was modeled before the remodel has happened. So as you can see, this thermal envelope looks a little funky, but I tried to follow as closely to where the outside of the insulation is. So that roof didn't have any insulation, so it kind of follows the path of the walls. And for this one, I did the same process as before, plugged in all the information known about the home. And it's a pretty large home and an old home, so the site energy was pretty large at 87.09. And I went through again and updated all the windows, updated all the walls, the roof, and so on. And for this one, it showed that updating the walls or updating the roof would have made the biggest impact if they were to come back and make one small change. Those two were the biggest differentials. So following all of that, I kind of went back and was able to kind of see the progress and the importance of energy modeling. So I think it was really cool to go and see through 2 different projects that were very different and see that one project, the windows would have made a big difference, but the other, for the walls, they would have made the bigger difference. So I don't know, comparing those two is really important, and I think it's really nice that Woofy allows you to make as many options and endless opportunities in there to see really what would best suit your project and what would create the biggest improvement on your energy modeling software project. And then following all of that, I think it's really cool that I can now share what I've learned today, throughout the past couple of months to you all today. And I am so proud that I've been able to help hopefully create a little bit better of a system that makes it a little bit simple and easy to use for everyone at Greenhammer and just encourages the use of this throughout. I just want to end everything by saying thank you so much to Greenhammer and Energy Trust of Oregon, and especially John, Erica, and Alex at Greenhammer. I have had so much fun with you guys the past couple of months, and I'm so happy I was able to be a part of this. Thank you.